I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Joni Ernst took to the Senate floor Wednesday to attack President Biden's record. Using the board game Clue as a reference, she blamed the White House's actions for higher gas prices and said Russia's invasion of Ukraine is not solely to blame for price instability. Here's more from the Iowa Republican.
Mr. President.
Senator from Iowa.
Mr. President, I ask that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm really beginning to believe everyone in the White House is clueless. After promising to lead us away from crisis and chaos, President Biden has instead made achieving the American dream more challenging and, folks, a heck of a lot more expensive, while at the same time making the world a much more dangerous place. Then, to cover up the connection between his actions and their disastrous outcomes, the president plays the blame game. Since Joe Biden was sworn in as president just a little over a year ago, we have experienced record-setting inflation, making everyday essentials unaffordable, an unprecedented number of migrants rushing our southern border, our national debt topping $30 trillion for the first time, the Taliban retaking control of Afghanistan, and the world being brought to the brink of nuclear war. Are these events purely the result of chance, or are they direct consequences of the choices being made in the White House? You don't need to be a detective to solve this whodunit. Let's go ahead and examine the case. All right. Over the past year, the cost of nearly everything has increased at the fastest pace in over 4 decades. A gallon of milk is up nearly 50 cents, and 2 pounds of ground beef costs over $1.50 more than it did a year ago. Add in rising rents and home prices, and these numbers really add up quickly. While Iowans and the rest of America are struggling to adjust their family budgets to ever-increasing costs of living, the Biden administration has repeatedly dismissed concerns about the price problem. Last summer, the president said, and I quote, "It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand," end quote. Now that the problem can no longer be ignored, he's actually blaming corporate greed. Get a clue. The Federal Reserve says the reason prices in the U.S. have been outpacing inflation in other countries since 2021, when Biden became president, is a direct result of Washington's unprecedented spending spree. Turns out you can't just print trillions of dollars and hand it out for free. Republicans in Congress and even some Democrats warned that this would happen when the president began pushing $1 trillion spending bill after another. Now, hardworking Americans are stuck paying for the Biden binge spending twice. First with higher taxes, and then again with higher bills. When it added all up, Bidenomics is costing every family almost $500 more a month today than a year ago to buy the same exact items. So despite the president's finger pointing, this problem isn't being caused by corporate greed, by profits, and it isn't on Wall Street. The White House is using a similar setup to hide the true cause of higher prices at the pump. President Biden wants us to believe that the skyrocketing cost to fill up your tank is all Vladimir Putin's fault. But gas was on the rise for more than a year before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In fact, gas prices have steadily increased since the president's first day in office when he signed an executive order to shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. On that day, January 20th, 2021, a gallon of gas cost less than $2.50. The president then signed an executive order turning off all new oil and gas leases on public lands. And while the president was shutting down U.S. energy, he was helping to make the world more dependent on Putin for power. In May of last year, the Biden administration waived the sanctions on Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. By then, gas here in the United States had reached $3 a gallon. When Putin invaded Ukraine in February, the price was already more than $3.50 per gallon. So don't be fooled, folks. It is really Biden's war on American energy that has been fueling the soaring costs. While the Russian dictator is guilty of many horrible things, the higher gas prices we have been paying for over the past year and a half did not begin as a result of Putin in Ukraine because of the war. It's impossible to miss the irony of President Biden pointing the finger at Putin, since the Russian dictator's aggression against Ukraine may have been emboldened by Biden's abrupt abandonment in Afghanistan. The poorly planned evacuation also turned over billions of dollars of weapons and equipment to the Taliban and other terrorists and left countless Americans and our allies behind, while costing the lives of 13 of our brave service members. The president blamed our own military. He blamed our own military for not warning him of the catastrophe that would occur if he withdrew all U.S. forces. But those claims were contradicted under oath before the Senate Armed Services Committee by his own advisors, who said the president was told Afghanistan would collapse. Try as he might to lay the blame elsewhere, the president single-handedly made the call to completely withdraw from Afghanistan, which will go down as one of the worst foreign policy decisions in U.S. history. And now Biden's blunders are threatening to turn the crisis at our southern border into total chaos. The number of illegal crossings last year exceeded 1.7 million, the most ever recorded. To make matters worse, the administration has announced those attempting to enter our country illegally will soon no longer be turned away under the authority provided by Title 42. As a consequence, Homeland Security officials are expecting a record surge of border crossings, which could reach as many as 18,000 people a day. And just like his other abrupt, poorly thought-out decisions, the president has no plan to deal with the inevitable repercussions. When the predictable disaster occurs, the president will be surprised and confused and look for someone else to blame. I could go on, but I am all ready to rest my case since the same set of fingerprints is on all of the evidence of these problems. But President Biden, if you still haven't figured it out, I'll give you a clue. Spoiler alert, the culprit is you. Whether signing executive orders to turn off American-made energy or signing budget-busting bills that are fanning the flames of inflation, the source of these problems can all be traced back to President Biden with the pen in the Oval Office. Right there, folks. Case closed. That's how all of these crises were created over the past year. Now imagine how some of the other policies being proposed by Democrats, like defunding the police, abolishing ICE, or enacting the Green New Deal, could turn out if President Biden is given the chance to sign them into law. Taxpayers can rest assured that Republicans in Congress will keep doing our part to make sure those bills never make it to the president's desk. And if the president tries to bypass Congress and enact his radical agenda by signing executive orders behind the closed doors of the White House, Americans can count on Republicans to clue you in. Thank you, Madam President. I yield.
Do you need to go?